Hi, good morning. Welcome to the class of communication. Now, today we are going to start with this new topic that is nonverbal communication. If you remember, we were discussing forms of communication in the last presentation, last class, and we had discussed like different forms based on hierarchy, based on language, right? In that, if you remember, we discussed verbal communication already, which is with the help of language. And then I told you that we will be discussing non-verbal communication. So let's see what it is. It is actually very interesting. This chapter is very interesting. You'll really enjoy. So non-verbal communication, as it is mentioned over here, the world beyond words. So let's see what it is. You can keep looking at the picture. Everything is related over here. See, nonverbal communication, often referred to as body language, is through any means other than words. So when we are using words to express ourselves, that becomes verbal communication, right? We already discussed something with the help of words, language. But when you are using any other means other than words, that is your body language. It is called non-verbal communication. So, what is included in non-verbal communication? For example, facial expression, your expressions, so many times it happens, like right now also, you don't speak, but you express your feelings, your emotions through your facial expression. It's so common. See, we can see in the pictures only given over here. See the first picture on the right hand side, an old man, right? He is not saying anything, but you can easily make out what he is doing, right? Can somebody tell? I mean, I'm so sorry, you cannot tell me, but you just think, what do you think that person is doing? So it feels like that person is doing an attentive listening, right? Look at his face. He's like, very much concentrated on whatever somebody else is speaking, or he also seemed to be a little concerned or worried, right? So he's not saying anything, but just see his hand. It seems like he's thinking something, right? So without saying anything, face is saying something. Same way, you can just in the other pictures also just ignore the gestures, that is hand movements you can ignore, but apart from that, just concentrate on the face. You can see different expressions among different people. The last one is surely a happy face. Likewise, on the left hand side, there are like six different facial expressions of the same man, and you can see different facial expressions. Each of them is sharing something, right? So facial expressions is one very strong way of expressing something, because when you're standing in front of somebody, your face is the first thing which people will observe. Yeah, not even your hands, not even your leg movements, or not even the other moments, but more than that, facial expression is the first thing that people will pay attention to, right? And maybe if you are standing in front of a stranger, you don't really care about what facial expressions they are giving, right? What different faces they are making, but your loved ones, your known ones, your friends, your family, for them your expressions, your facial expressions matter a lot. So that is also one way of communicating. Then comes the movement. The movement you do, sometimes let's say that you are talking to somebody and suddenly you just stand up and start walking. So that movement, you know, of walking, that action of walking, it also means something, right? Or some kind of movement. Let's say you're not comfortable sitting at one place, maybe your legs are hurting, or you're just not comfortable sitting at one place, so you just try and move your body here and there. So that little movement that you are making, that is also expressing something. So that is also non-verbal communication. Then your eye contact. If you're very confident and if you know what you're talking about, if you're paying attention to somebody and you're listening, you will try and maintain the eye contact. But let's say that you're trying to avoid the eye contact, you know, um, so that means something, right? That means either you're guilty of doing something, or you're not confident, or you're not willing to listen to somebody. So eye contact is also an important way of nonverbal communication. And all the vocal qualities, so by vocal qualities means the quality of my voice, how am I talking, right? Some people have the habit of talking very fast. Some people will talk like slowly, the speed that I'm talking about. Some people have the use very soft tone. Some people have very harsh tone. Some people have very confident voice tone, right? So the pitch of the voice. Sometimes people talk at a very high pitch. Sometimes people talk at a very low pitch. So all these things, the vocal qualities also is one important way of communicating, because as an harp you bring changes in your vocal qualities, like maybe you bring change in your pitch, you bring change in the way you emphasize something. So that means people will understand what you're trying to say rather than saying everything in the same tone of voice. So vocal qualities are also very important way of non-verbal communication. So all these things basically help us to communicate without words, right? So this is about non-verbal communication. Mostly it is referred to as a body language. Body language can communicate more than spoken words. Sometimes if you don't bring any, let's say if you just use a very flat note, uh, flat voice while talking, and if you don't bring any kind of variations, we don't see any changes in the pitch and the tone and the speed, nothing, then it becomes very monotonous. People will not be able to understand. But rather than that, if you look at body language, body language can communicate more than the spoken words. People will be able to understand more through your gestures, through your facial expressions, through your vocal qualities that you have. And in fact, if you look at the way communication is done, the major part, almost 67%, more than that, uh, the communication is done through the body language, through your non-verbal communication rather than the verbal communication. So that is why non-verbal communication is very important. Once again, non-verbal communication is referred to as body language, that is by any other means other than the words. See, it is given over here. Verbal versus non-verbal communication. It's given over here. See, your verbal communication is almost 7%. Your gestures, your body movements, your body language is almost 55. And the voice tone, the way you talk, that is contributing to 38%. So there's this researcher, this person, an expert who's called Mehrabian. So Mehrabian has given this rule. So according to him, this is called Mehrabian's rule. According to him, the communication is divided into these three parts, and the major understanding comes from the body language, that is almost 55%. So your body language is contributing almost 55% to the total communication, overall communication which is done. And then comes the tone of the voice, and finally comes the words. So verbal communication contributes only 7%. I'm sure you must be finding this very interesting. That means, to have, if you want to become a good communicator, then you really need to pay attention to your body language and the tone of the voice. These are just some of the examples. Just some of the examples. Just see, if somebody is walking like confidently, that means I hold my head high. If somebody is standing with the arms wide open, that means I'm open. Look at this person sitting in a chair, it means I'm relaxed. Somebody is just smiling at people. Somebody is just listening. Somebody is just dancing along the path. So, even without these words mentioned over here, when you look at these pictures, you can also make out what does they mean, right? So, this is about non-verbal communication. What are the characteristics of nonverbal communication? So, first thing, it cannot be avoided. I mean, you try and practice it actually, try and practice it. Like, it is so much part of you, so much part of a normal communication process that you cannot be avoiding non-verbal communication. When you're trying, let's say just today, when you get up, just to finish this class, try and if you're at home, then try and talk to your parents or your spouse or anybody known to your siblings. Try and talk, like, just without any kind of hand movement or without any kind of body movement or without showing any kind of facial expression. Try and just talk. You will come to know that, oh my god, you cannot avoid it. We are so much used to our bodies, so much used to uh, uh, react, through the non-verbal way. Your body language will automatically start reacting whenever you start communicating. So first thing, it cannot be avoided, it will just come. Second, it may be intentional or it may be unintentional. Again, in some I mean, there are some expressions which you intentionally give, because you want to show your expressions. For example, you're saying goodbye to somebody. If you're just waving by, that means you're intentionally saying bye to somebody, right? Those are called intentional expressions. But there are some expressions which are unintentional. For example, you don't like something and suddenly it's shown on your face. That's unintentional. I mean, you don't want to show it, right? You don't want to hurt somebody. Let's say your mother has cooked some nice recipe, and you personally didn't like it, right? So everybody is excited, but it is clearly shown on your face that you are not liking it. Now, you don't want to hurt your mother, of course, because she has worked so hard, but unintentionally it is shown on your face. Our parents can make out if we are in pain. Our parents can make out if we are hurt. Our parents can make out if we are tensed or stressed about something. So it's not intentionally that you want to worry somebody else, but it just happens. So, this is also the characteristics of nonverbal communication, that sometimes they're intentional and sometimes they are unintentional. The next one, nonverbal cues are often ambiguous. Yeah, which is true, because nonverbal cues will differ from culture to culture. In our country, thumbs up would mean something else, but in other country, it might be an offensive sign. So if you go and do over there, it can be bad, right? So that means non-verbal cues can be confusing. They are quite confusing because you feel that, yeah, you are using some non-verbal cues, but other person might not understand or might not know the meaning, right? Because with age it differs, with culture it differs, it completely differs. Uh, so if you must have seen, like, so many auto rickshaw drivers, like, I have seen that happening. They don't. Uh, what they will do is, if they want to take a right turn, instead of putting on indicator, they will just take out their hand and wave the hand. So, am I supposed to understand that waving the hand means that person wants to take the right turn? Sometimes, it's like too much. A person would just take out his right leg. And then what am I supposed to just understand that right leg coming out means, okay, person is wanting to take the right turn. Oh my God. So, and non-verbal cues can be ambiguous. Non-verbal cues are also continuous, because this is something, as I said, you cannot control it, right? Your facial expressions will be on and on and on. You're sleeping, some expressions, you wake up, some expressions, you see something, some expressions, you're happy, sad, angry, irritated, anything. In fact, as we just move on to the part of facial expressions, you will just realize what I'm talking about. It's very interesting, human face is capable of showing so many facial expressions. So that means they're continuous. And I'm just not by non-verbal cues, I don't mean only the facial expressions, but your gestures, your movement. Nobody can just sit still, right? Like a statue. It's not possible. That means constantly you are giving some cues to others who are sitting next to you, that, yeah, so it means something. Even the small babies, babies who have just started crawling, right? If that baby is not sitting at one place and is constantly on the move, that means you can make out that, okay, something is going on in this baby's mind. So that means they are continuing. Non-verbal communication blends with speech. Yeah, so they are part. They both of them go along. Like verbal communication alone cannot work. Like non-verbal communication alone cannot work. But non-verbal communication, it blends with speech. So your speech becomes more effective whenever non-verbal communication blends. So that is part of the communication. And nonverbal cues are also culture bound. So I will take you through some slides in which you will see, we'll see some examples of how nonverbal cues are culture bound, right? As I said, that thumbs up in one country might mean something else. In India, it means thumbs up, means, yeah, all the best. But in other countries, it might be an offensive signal. Here, shaking hand must be not so comfortable, but shaking hand might be something else in other countries, right? What kind of handshakes are you making? That also differs from one culture to another culture. So that means non-verbal cues are culture bound. So these are the characteristics of a non-verbal communication. Just take a minute and quickly go through the slide once again. All right, moving ahead. These are the examples of how non-verbal cues are culture bound. Just go through. Okay, so I hope you read it. Now see the this symbol perfect. We say perfect. It is so commonly used like that. Everything is perfect or all right. But in France, it means it's worthless. In Japan, it means it's money. Germany, it means rude. In Malta, Greece, Brazil, it's some kind of obscene symbol. So that means it differs, you need to be very careful when you go overseas, because especially when you're working, like let's say you're working in a corporation and you are sent to another country for work, then first thing they train you about is understand the culture, especially all these things. Try and how will you communicate if you don't know what these symbols means or what are the common symbols. Even when you don't know the language, at least you can use the symbols, but at least you need to know the meaning of these symbols. So when you go to work in for any international assignment, they always train you with all these things because you don't know, and you yourself need to learn. See, second one is thumbs up, means commonly means all okay, but in Australia, Iran, it means it's rude. Nigeria, it's very offensive. Japan, it means five. Turkey, it's some kind of political rightist party. And stop, see, stop. Commonly it means stop, stop the car, but in Turkey it means you get nothing from me. In Africa, you have five fathers. It means it's not good. It's rude, right? Same way the fig, the symbol fig. So they it also has different meaning, like obscene. You get nothing from me. You can't have it. Or in Brazil, it means good luck. So it differs from one country to another country, and that's the interesting part. That's what you need to learn. There are some more examples given over here. I think you should please go through this slide.